Hey everyone, how's it going? With the drop of Operation Phantom Sight on the test servers yesterday, we got our first look at what's to come in the next season of Rainbow Six Siege. After getting to play around on the test servers for a little bit, I wanted to give my 2 cents about the 2 new operators that are coming next season, Nokk and Warden. Overall, I'm really excited for this next season of Siege because there are a lot of really good changes coming to the game, a lot of good things that are getting fixed finally, and the game in general is just headed in a very good direction for the near future. One thing that really excites me for this new season, oddly enough, is the fact that both the new operators are not going to be game-breaking or super game-changing operators. Both gadgets that these operators are bringing to the game are both very useful, but not necessarily overpowered gadgets. Nokk's gadget, for example, is a combination of 2 gadgets that we already have in the game, and Warden's is a very simplistic gadget that can be used in many different scenarios. With the last few seasons of Siege, usually when we get a new operator, we very often will see them getting nerfed very early into the test servers. Often it's a very severe nerf right off the bat, but both of these operators both seem very solid where they are right off the bat, and I can't really see, at least at this point, there being a whole lot of changes with either operator. Nokk's, for example, is a gadget that's a mix of 2 pre-existing gadgets or abilities that are already in the game, so there's not a whole lot, at least I don't think, that they can mess up with that. Yeah, they had to tweak them a little bit, but it's stuff that's already in the game, and therefore it's already a pretty solid gadget right off the bat. Warden's also is just a more amped up version of an ability that's already in the game. In the game, we already had Ying, who when she threw out her candelas, pulled down a visor which made her immune to the flashes. Warden is just a more powerful version of that. He's not only immune to the Ying candelas, but to any flashes in the game, which is something I think the game has needed for a little while now because flashbangs are such an important part of the game. And then on top of that, you've just got an operator like Blitz, who is in a very, very powerful position right now and has never really had a super hard counter, but Warden begins to fill in that spot very nicely. On top of the flashbang immunity, he also gets the ability to see through smokes, which is something that has been coming a lot more common in the game with bulletproof cameras and Maestro's Evil Eye, but we've never had it on a moving target. It's always been on a stationary camera, so to have the ability to move around and have that same ability is a really nice thing to come to the game. It's going to be a very hard counter to the smoke plant. Now, in the past, you have had cameras for that, but if your camera isn't in the right position, it's no good. But with Warden, you can move into the position that you need to get that counter on that smoke plant. At this point, his biggest adversary is going to be Glaz, who has that same ability to see through smokes. However, with the change to Glaz's sight and that same effect being applied to Warden's glasses, it could potentially balance out. If Warden stops moving before Glaz, he's going to see Glaz before Glaz can see him, which will give him that opportunity to get the jump on Glaz. I don't want to spend too much time on the gadgets, however, just as a summary though, I think Warden's gadget is going to be not necessarily a super powerful gadget, but a very useful gadget. Something in the hands of a strong player can be very effective in game, but in the hands of a common player, maybe not as effective and potentially requires just a little bit more skill than the average player has. When it comes to the operator loadout, so far people are a little disappointed that we're getting no new weapons this season. One advantage to that, however, is the fact that the learning curve for these new operators won't be as large of a learning curve. You won't have to learn both the gadget and the new guns. The fact that they're guns that are already in the game means you've probably used them before, and so you don't have to learn something new, and you can focus solely on learning that new gadget. That being said, neither operator is a super heavy hitter when it comes to their loadout. Both main primaries are very low damage weapons in the FMG9 and the MPX. Both weapons require a little more accuracy, and headshots are going to be key. Even in the operator reveal panel itself, the developers said that on Nokk specifically, if you want those long-range engagements, you're going to want to switch to your secondary and not stick with the FMG9, who has terrible, terrible damage at long range, so you're going to be a lot more reliant on your secondaries. Before we jump to the secondaries though, I just gotta quickly touch on the shotgun primaries that both operators have. Nokk has the same shotgun that Ying and Legion have, and to be honest though, I don't see this getting used a whole lot because you're on attack and shotguns are never really a viable option on attack just to begin with. And Warden's shotgun is the shotgun that is used by the SAS, which personally, I'm actually really happy about that. That shotgun is one of my favorites in the game, and the fact that he has the SMG secondary, he can kind of work the same kind of loadout as Smoke. A shotgun primary, SMG secondary. And while their gadgets, the smoke canisters and his glasses, are very, very different gadgets, they can kind of work in the same way, and they both can be very valuable plant denial gadgets. So potentially these two operators could be interchangeable. When it comes to the operator secondaries, I think for Nokk, it's going to be an obvious choice for everybody. Everybody is going to be going for the Deagle because when you have it, why wouldn't you use it? Especially now with the new muzzle brake attachments. These things have practically no recoil, so you can definitely see Deagles being used a lot more in the game overall. And I'm not even going to talk about Nokk's other pistol because I really don't see it being used a whole lot, like at all. I know I'm not going to be using it, so I'm not going to go a whole lot into that. Warden's secondaries, however, you can definitely expect to see a little bit more of a mix with that. Yes, you do have the SMG, which is more rounds, but the downside is the SMG-12's recoil is insane. And then you have the pistol, the same pistol used by Clash. You have the red dot, which is absolutely awesome, but the downside is lower fire rate, of course, and smaller mag size. So that one is definitely going to be a player preference kind of choice. I think at the start I'm probably going to be using the SMG-12 a little bit more, but if I feel days where I need a little bit more accuracy, I'll definitely move over to the pistol. Overall though, I'm just super excited for this next season of Rainbow Six Siege. Both operators seem really solid, they're not game breaking, we're not going to see a whole bunch of nerfs, at least I don't think, in the near future. One last thing I would like to say though is I think both of these operators are going to require a little bit of a higher skill set. The main thing being accuracy is going to be a huge thing on both operators. Again, with the lower damage output, headshots are going to be key in winning you rounds. When it comes to how often we can expect to see these operators in the future, however, I think Nokk we're going to see a lot of in the lower levels. However, I think she's going to be a lot more effective in the higher tiers, where communication is a big thing, and also aim just in general is a lot better at those higher levels. So while we may see her a lot more in the lower levels, I think she'll be less effective because her gadget does require a little bit of a higher skill set. Her loadout, again, higher skill set. So I think, again, while we may not see her a lot in the higher levels, I think there's just a lot of better options for operators at the higher tier. I think when she is used at the higher tier, she will be very effective with a well-coordinated team. The same kind of goes for Warden as well. He will require a little bit of extra coordination to get him in the right position to deny that smoke plant, and potentially to make sure that he's the one taking on Blitz, because he right now is the hardest counter we have for him. But as to how often we'll see him, I think it'll be pretty even across the board. He's just a solid operator all around. His gadget, kind of like Jaegers, can be used on any map for anyone, because flashbangs can be anywhere at any time. So his pick rate, I will be very interested to see. I feel it's going to be pretty even overall, whereas Nokk will kind of be on the lower side overall. But those are just my opinions. If you guys have some different thoughts about these operators, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think about them. And yeah, I think that's going to be about it for this video. Don't want to ramble on too long, so I'm just going to say thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.